Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's AI Would Agree. Anybody who hasn't seen the show before, what have you been doing? But welcome to my weekly Thursday live on LinkedIn. AI Would Agree started probably nearly a year and a half ago now. We've had some amazing guests on the show. We talk everything from technology to leadership and everything in between around the customer experience and customer service front. Today's guest is an interesting conversation because until about 10 minutes ago, me and Pedro had never actually met in person. So we've had some chats on LinkedIn, but we never actually met each other. So this is true to my nature in what I said, that AI Would Agree would always be a very informal and free-flowing event. No scripting. We take the technology bad with the good at times. And here we are. So Pedro, welcome to the show. Thanks very much for coming along.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here, Paul.
Fantastic. No, not at all. Not at all. And before we get into anything else, I'm going to call out the amazing Star Wars and Lego tributes behind you, because it just proves I chose the right guest to come on the show, because you're a man after my own heart, right?
Yeah, and I also really love your T-shirt.
I've got another one that is Top Dad, which my son got me for Father's Day, which was really nice, but that's in the wash. So I'll just have to be inverted today. Fantastic. So as I begin the show asking pretty much all of my guests, Pedro, I would love to hear the story of how you got involved in contact centres in the first place.
Well,
When was it?
I don't think it will be different from a lot of people that joined the contact center industry by accident.
Yeah.
So I joined back in 2012, and in Portugal, it's completely off my background. My background is in engineering, and I was working for a construction company. And with the economic crisis, that construction company went bankrupt, and I got laid off.
Mm-hmm.
And an opportunity appeared for me to join Teleperformance, and I thought, well, why not? I'm busy. I have a payment, and until something better comes along, let's do this. And then one big problem happened. From the first day of training, I really liked the environment, the industry, the opportunity to help others, and especially, and this is the opportunities that I saw immediately to grow within this environment. So I went through, and I immediately changed my focus of having this not temporary job until I find something better, to make that my something better. And I fully dedicated myself, trying to be the best advisor I could be, the best team player and best team member I could be. And things started to fall into place. I got promoted to team leader. I went through all the normal positions within operations of a contact center. I was a trainer, I was a quality analyst, I was a quality training analyst, team leader, and then I moved to finally to operations manager, where I still sit today. It's already a mid senior position. It's not so, the transition is not so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So the sandwich in the middle, right?
Yeah,
Not too senior to escape the phones altogether, but senior enough to be above the noise.
yeah. And and I, as an operations manager, I can say that I went to the phone lines once.
Yeah, it happens. It happens, right?
That's it.
Mm.
I needed to show that I could deliver the work that I was requesting, and that even challenging customers, we could turn them around if we showed the proper techniques.
Absolutely, and getting your hands dirty. I think that's key to a lot of leadership, not just in contact centers, but yeah.
Any type of leadership,
Mhm.
people
100%.
really value seeing your boss doing your work, and it completely undermines that statement. Oh, but he doesn't know how to do my work.
Yeah, removes all the arguments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, been there, done that. I worked a similar journey in my retail career, so yeah, I understand well. And you've managed some quite large teams, right? I think you said around about 700 and above.
My last position in WebHelp, I was managing a team across 9 countries of up to 700 agents
Fascinating.
through, and we were supporting, I don't know, probably around 20 different languages in 9 different countries. So it was really challenging and growth opportunity for me.
Yeah. And that's a really interesting point, actually. So as I kind of pointed out in the LinkedIn event when I set the event up, is I've not spoken to anybody on the show from. I mean, let me have a think here before I say this, but yeah, I don't think I've spoken to anybody from Europe directly from Contact Center World. We've had a few guests from North America, we've had a few guests from South Africa, we've had quite a lot of guests from the UK. Um, so I'm keen to kind of hear a little bit about the thing that I see as being the main differentiator for European contact centers is, as you just pointed out, that language barrier, because there's so many different languages in so many different countries.
Hmm.
Um, how's that for you to deal with in terms of quality checking those outputs and responding as a leader? Like, there must be a lot of challenges thrown up in that environment for you to manage people who don't necessarily speak your language as their first.
So one thing, true, there is a challenge,
Mhm.
of course. Usually, my teams that I worked, at least they had the B2 level of English. So even if we would recruit someone in France, in Germany, in Slovenia, I don't know,
Mhm.
the B2 level would be present. So it would allow us to have some basic conversations and understanding. Um, in terms of quality checks, and it's extremely important that we ensure that even if someone is speaking a language and providing support that we don't understand, we are able, depending on the size of the team, we would have quality, even either full time or part time, to assess that the quality part of the work. So I had some quality analysts that would be shared, not with different projects. So maybe they were not so keen on the solutions, but on the positive positioning, empathy, all those soft skills. They
Mhm.
were very, very skilled,
Yeah.
and they could detect and coach and help coach the agents on those matters. But yeah, definitely it's a challenge, especially when you are managing small teams,
Yeah.
because is it worth it? Can you Do you have any return for the investment for a team of three? To I tried to find a quality analyst for that team.
Mhm.
How do we balance this?
It's already a low margin business, and when you're trying to find an analyst to go over the top of that at potentially more expensive cost than the agent, you're almost removing the margin, right?
Yeah, completely. It's
Yeah.
and then we need to assess: is it worth it? What are our priorities? Is it the profit, or do
Mhm.
we want just to provide a stellar client? And when I say in the BPO, I'm meaning our
Yeah.
to so that they invest more on us. So we
Mhm.
invest now for 6 months, 1 year on this, and then wait for a return.
Mhm.
What's
And
the strategy of the company here?
do you find that managing? So I guess it's not just about managing across languages. It's about managing across cultures as well and leading across cultures. And there's a lot of cultural differences as you spread across Europe, certainly from Eastern Europe across to Western Europe. What sort of challenges did you find when you were trying to navigate teams that were maybe spread across the continent? Is that quite hard to deal with culturally?
It depends. So
Mhm.
first thing that and Portugal, Spain are you the industry. It's really big on multicultural environments. I think at least to my knowledge, in the UK and North America, you are more focused on the UK and North American environment, so it's more national.
Mhm.
But in Portugal, it's mostly nearshore
Mhm.
environment. And so, first thing that you need to accept, there will be challenges, and you
Yeah.
will be surprised, and you need to accept those differences. Period.
Mhm. Yeah.
Second thing, you need to treat them with respect and demand respect,
Mhm.
and be ready to be surprised. I can tell you that, and this was not that long ago, uh, we were launching a site in Israel
Mhm.
and a site in Jordan.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and we came across the leadership of the project with a situation where it was requested that people from Israel and people from Jordan would not be together in the same meetings, even with the client.
Yeah.
And because of the geopolitical,
Of course. Yeah.
and while we acknowledge the situation,
Yeah.
we explain that we could not request the client to have two meetings to discuss the same topic, because, and to ensure that there was no issue for the client, what we identify was a neutral party in the that could that would represent both of those locations towards
Mhm.
the client, and then cascade the information.
Got it.
But what that taught me was, you can be in this business for 2 years, 12 years, 20 or 50 years. You will always find something new in the multicultural environment that you are not prepared to handle.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a little bit about thinking outside the box, right? And I think that's true for both retail and contact centers. Is you can start off in one position, um, but to your point earlier on, you can see so many different career pathways that you can go down. If you're prepared to put yourself out there and think outside the box, you
Mm.
can pretty much become anything you want to as long as you apply yourself, right?
Yeah, be- managing a project in a BPO, it's almost like you are the CEO of a small, sometimes not that small, even, well, I cannot say that most companies do
Mhm.
not have 700 people working for them.
Yeah, yeah,
The revenue, it's not on the millions of euros or pounds, or so we handle a lot of these pressures, and so it's a matter of defining and understanding the core of the other business, but we know how to handle the business itself,
yeah.
a business. So I think it sets us up in a wonderful way to success in any type of industry.
Gives you a real breadth of experience behind you to be able to handle anything that's chucked your way, right?
Yeah, completely.
And crucially, it's a people environment. So technology is great, process is great, but ultimately it's about influencing people to get them to deliver for your clients and for you as a business, right?
I think all the business, all or almost all business are people business.
Mm.
It's how to put people doing, promoting your service, your product for you,
Mhm.
and supporting. But we cannot ask it's not the CEO. The CEO is the face of the company.
Mhm. Yeah.
The ones that deliver are the front lines.
Mhm.
The CEO needs to establish strategy, a vision, direction, every once in a while, to slam his fist on the table to make sure that he's. But if he does not have the engagement of the everyone else beneath him,
Mhm.
nothing that he decides, nothing that he wants will get through. And the same is true on the contact center. I can have the best action plan, the best strategy to tackle a problem, to the best ideas. But
Mhm.
if I'm not able to communicate, to make sure that my team, the ones below me, fully understand my vision, my ideas, my objectives, they will not put it in place. They will stick to whatever they know or want to do. and the ones below them, they will not do it as well. So it's every single business is a people business, unless you are working alone.
So, question then. There's obviously going to have been occasions where you've been asked to kind of run a procedure or a transformation or a change that you didn't quite believe in. Um, for whatever reason, sometimes these things come down the line that don't make a great deal of sense. Or they probably do to somebody higher up the chain somewhere, but when you translate it down, and it usually comes from, in my opinion, it usually comes from the fact that change has been decided at the top without talking to the people at the bottom.
Mhm.
Um, so when that happens, what's your advice for any other leaders out there that's having to deal with that sort of situation where you've got to kind of toe the company line and get the message out there because you know that if you don't deliver it in the right way, to your point, it's not going to impact on your people in the way that it needs to deliver any chance of success. What's your experience with that?
So I think it's a matter of strategy here. So we need to choose our battles and our wins. So if someone way above the hierarchy decides something, you need to implement it because you will not be able to challenge to do anything because the approval it's already here
Yeah,
done. So implement it and make sure that you implement it the best way possible without missing a single tick on the checklist. And in 3 months, when things are not going as expected, bring your idea.
yeah,
Pick up, because it's also a battle of egos.
yeah.
Pick up on their idea and make the necessary changes for it to work without saying that his idea or that idea doesn't work. Just small recommendations,
I think
but
that's
and this is valid for everything. You cannot say that something doesn't work without trying and without as soon as you have everything documented, you can put your idea in place.
yeah, absolutely. I think where I've seen people fall foul of that, to your point exactly, is they've half-heartedly tried to implement something because they didn't agree with it. Then in 3 months' time, instead of them being able to push back on the changes that were requested to be made and suggest improvements, the focus then becomes on why they didn't do what they were asked to do.
Mhm.
And that's a very tough pill to swallow when when you potentially didn't agree with the conversation in the first place. You trap yourself, right?
Yeah, it completely. And if you have, and this is another thing that I've seen people do every once in a while, there is a problem, and the problem exists for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, doesn't matter. And nobody has a solution or an idea or a workaround for the problem. We just live with it. And then someone comes with a solution for the problem, and everybody starts to chip in their own ideas. In my opinion, those ideas are not valid until the first one
Yeah.
is proven. Because if you had those, why did you keep them for
Yeah.
yourself?
I think it's sometimes a little bit opening the floodgates. And I guess there's also an element there of um, what am I looking to say here? People tend to hide their ideas sometimes because they're worried that they're going to be shot down or that their idea might not work and they get the blame for it not working. It might fail. And failure can be like, or fear of failure, not failure itself, but fear of failure. And the way that the business and organization culturally deal with that failure can be a massive problem for businesses because I'm a big believer that you should be limiting the risk of any one idea as much as possible for a business, especially when you talk about that many employees. But if you don't try things, you'll never fix the problems. So there's got to be a positive culture around trying things and accepting that failure might happen, as long as you remove as much risk as possible from that failure. Is that something you've seen?
Well, I think people are afraid of being rejected, or have, a lot of people have that feeling that I can suggest, but nobody will listen to me.
Mhm.
They have this. There is this idea, this concept,
Yeah.
The feel of failure for an idea, it never dies alone with the person that had the idea, because I can have the best idea ever, or the worst. I can have the worst idea ever. This is the case, and I will not implement it by myself. I will have to talk with my manager because there will have to be some changes in the established procedures. And if as soon as my manager fails to see that I'm having a bad idea and it implements, it's my manager's fault or responsibility.
Yeah,
So, and this follows a chain of command, of course.
yeah,
So there is not actually a risk of delivering bad ideas. There is a risk on non-delivering, on not being able to implement good ideas.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why that's why one of the key mechanisms for people to find solutions is to brainstorm and just say anything that comes to our mind.
I think there's an element as well when you're doing that brainstorming. To your point, that um, people just don't want to put themselves out there. Like people can be introverted, people can be quite quiet people, and sometimes, or quite often, I find that those people come up with the best ideas. And to your point, the leader almost needs to be the umbrella for those people to take their idea. Make sure everybody's aware when it works that it was that person's idea, but almost take the blame when it doesn't, because exactly as you said, it's my fault as a leader for not having spotted that this wouldn't work or for implementing it in a way that didn't work. It's not necessarily that person. So I think that's the tough part about being, especially that middle layer of management that you're talking about, is there's a lot of that happens. It's easier when you become a more senior leader in that respect because you know there's a lot of people under you that are capable of taking on these things themselves. You become, to your point, more of a directional leader and more of a strategic leader as
Mhm.
opposed to somebody putting things into practice. It always ends up the people who are operationally responsible that take a lot of the blame, I think.
Yeah, yes and no. I don't fully agree with you. I don't. I think the more we go up the ladder, the more responsibility we have for our own ideas because there will be less people to veto our ideas and the implementation. So it's really dangerous when the CEO has a really bad idea. Nobody will be able to say no.
But I don't think that should be the case, though.
No, the problem is nobody has the power to shut it down.
Yeah.
And sometimes we see people in places of responsibility
Mhm.
or power having bad ideas and nobody's saying nothing. There is multiple factors. One, they don't want to they don't want to say no to the boss.
Mhm.
Depending on the company, this can be a big problem.
Yeah.
Uh, they don't have that opportunity even,
Mm.
and but as soon as you manage to go up the ladder, I think you are being paid to not have bad ideas, or you are paid for your experience and your track record of not having bad ideas because you already learned from 3 4 bad ideas that you had in the past.
And I think that's fair. When I see really good CEOs, and I've spoken to a few on the show, some amazing CEOs. Without doubt, the best ones surround themselves with people who aren't afraid to challenge their ideas. So to your point, I think it's really dangerous, and I think probably the bigger the business, the harder that becomes to surround yourself with those people. Um, but I think it's very dangerous to be head on your own in a business where everybody just accepts your decisions and lets you run with whatever you decide to do. That I think that is, if I would worry a lot if I was that CEO that I've got nobody that's comfortable to say no to me.
There is one thing that happens in companies, and it's human behavior. that we tend to hire people that we see as not as smart, more limited than us. When what actually brings the magic, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
You should not be afraid to hire someone that is noticeably smarter than you were. And picking up on this, the CEO should be the dumbest person in a corporation. And because you want your people to be really, really, really smart people
Yeah.
to challenge you, to because will that's the thing that will make you grow as a person. And I'm really proud whenever I see, and this is something that I've learned, but I'm really happy with myself, and I see that as a personal achievement
Mm.
when someone that is on my direct report team is promoted to the same position as I am, and some colleagues of mine that already are as an operation director, and we work together, and it doesn't mean that anything. It's not a menace to me. It's not a risk to me. It's not a threat. It's part one. It's opportunities. Another. It's a proof of their capabilities. And if they were mentored by me, I think that also says a lot about me.
I'm quite a big fan of the quote that you're not a leader until you've created a leader who's created a leader. And I think that's fair, and I love that phrase, and I've lived by that for quite a long time. And exactly as you've said, like some of my proudest moments from my leadership days was seeing my team. I took one of my deputy managers when I was in retail store to take him to the warehouse to collect his company car as he got made store manager, and that was one of the proudest days of my life because I know I had an impact. Not didn't want to take it away from him. He got himself promoted, but I had an impact on that, and to make that sort of change to somebody's life is really powerful. And I think that's when I speak to leaders who've been there and done it for a long time, that's the underlying motivational factor for them. It's not the day in and day out of the grind of the job and all the problems and the stress and the long days and cancelled days off. It's those moments when that ray of light really shines through, where you've helped someone and you've changed their circumstances for the better, to your point, whether it's directly or indirectly.
There is the term, the work wife or work husband. It's quite coined already but we need to coin the work kids. And
Yeah,
I'm not saying it but the ones that we mentor to become better professionals, and we can continue to see their career grow and feel proud of them.
yeah. Fantastic. Well, we've come to the end of the 30 minutes, believe it or not.
It
It's
was
it's
really
amazing how
fast.
fast it flies. I've really enjoyed the conversation, Pedro. And like I say, for everybody who's watching this is the first time myself and Pedro have had an in-person conversation. So fantastic to see that what we started on LinkedIn proved to be a good conversation on live show. Anybody who's watching the show, I want to make a special call out. Is Pedro is actually between jobs at the moment. He's got some good applications going on, and he's working through those things. But anybody who's watching the show at the moment who would like to add Pedro to their team, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I would love to think that through the power of this show and the different networks that we've managed to get some movement on something for Pedro. I wish you all the luck in the world for the
Thank you
next
so
few
much, Paul,
weeks.
for both for the shout out and for the invitation. And it was really fast, and it was really, really a pleasant conversation. I'm
Well,
up. I'm up for it as many times as you want. I just don't want people to get bored with me.
absolutely. Well, look, Pedro, I'd love to see you on some of the future shows, like in the audience, asking questions and things like that. Please do, and stay in touch with me as things
I
progress.
will.
Let me know how you get on.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to shout that out to the audience as well. Fantastic, everybody who's come along to watch us today. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back again next Thursday with another guest, and we will see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.